a movie viewing environment, but the fact that you know, and nobody's done enough tests on Blu-rays to say, you know, how reliable is the format. You know, the engineers say the disc will last 100 years. You know, the data. Of course, they said that about CDs when they came out.
I was going to say,
so that about
when I
DVDs
sue them in 100 years, nobody's going to care. They'll be
yeah,
dead anyway.
They'll all be gone. But archival storage, backup storage, because backup stuff has become so important now. Every computer security person out there tells you, you know, you should back up locally, you should back up in the cloud, you should have an off-site backup of everything that you do. And it's been interesting because nobody's pushing Blu-ray in the computer. Nobody is pushing that, you know, Blu-ray -R, you know, recording to say, hey, I got 25 gigs or 50 gigs, you do dual layer of storage that I can then keep of my computer files. And I'm curious, and it's interesting because, again, you know, Sony is what's going to make or break this. You know, what they decide to do, if they decide to continue to invest money in this format, if they decide to continue to push it. But you know, you're talking about taking an existing collection and putting it in the cloud. But so the question then becomes, too, is Blu-ray going to be the way that you purchase that? Because you know, you're talking about digital copy, but really that disc is not going to, I mean, eventually will not be a necessity. You'll be able to just click a button and watch anything. I mean, I imagine that Google Music kind of model, that you'll be able to watch anything you own anywhere at any time, is here, very close, if not, you know, already here. But the question becomes, how is that getting to you? How is that coming into your home?
Who cares? And I mean, it's, the data already exists. My you know, 2012 envisioning of this is, I pay a company $15 or $20, and they give me eternal access to a permanent file that they have. Who cares? I mean, if I'm streaming it through the internet or Wi-Fi or whatever, it doesn't matter as long as that capability sort of exists. Now, if I'm in, you know, dialing up to America Online, am I doing that? No, probably not. We're talking about a month to look at something, but I mean, that way that data isn't repeated thousands of times. I'm thinking, my 20,000 songs or whatever, how many times is that exact data replicated on how many servers everywhere that I can access? What stupidity that is. I mean, consolidate that down and just open up access to all of those areas. Then that data cost is nothing. I mean, once that's held somewhere at some Sony manufacturer, I pay $10, let's say, and I have eternal access to watch that, then I don't need a backup or storage or return plan because I've already purchased that. As long as I have my password, who cares about the backup of it? I don't need it.
Well, I think I was talking more of stuff that you generate yourself.
I mean, my own content?
Well, yeah, movies, photos, documents that you create.
No, sure. Then I hold that at my place or whatever.
And you bring up a very good point that, you know, talking about, you know, I'm stressing kind of the lack of technology that exists in some parts of the country. But I mean, we look at the new iPad and Verizon offering to make that a hotspot. You know, in essence, you now will be able to. The days of the cable companies and the phone companies offering you internet services is going to come to a close quickly. And so, you know, I guess as you're saying that, I was thinking that really, even though I think that's a problem, it's not going to be a problem for very long, because as people start to use their phones and other devices in order to get access to their internet and to their content, then it's not going to matter. I mean, you're going to have broadband everywhere. You know, we're not all fortunate enough to be Kansas City, which is getting the Google you know, gigabit speed stuff, but it's going to be interesting to think that this little device, you know, a little iPad or a little phone, is going to be your connectivity from wherever you are to the internet, to your content, and that I see is more the breaking force of what's going to happen to Blu-ray than necessarily the fact that it's streaming, the fact that people, because you know, right now, if you've bought a PS3 or you've bought a Blu-ray player, those things, you know, are going to still last you a good period of time. And the question becomes, and it's really, I mean, we're talking about this, but really it's all going to come down to supply. You know, you have to have enough movies that come out, and eventually, you figure the movie industry wants to find a way to maximize, and yeah, you eliminate costs by doing that, but you can charge a lot more too for the Blu-ray. You know, people probably aren't willing to pay the Blu-ray price, you know, or pay $20, $30 for a digital download of one movie. I mean, that's you know, and that gets into it. We could have a whole.
I think they absolutely are. They're doing it right now for music.
We could have
They're paying more for music digitally than they are for a CD. I mean, that still stuns me that I can go on Amazon and the cost of a CD is lower than the cost of a digital download because of its convenience and instantaneous nature. I think that's going to happen. I don't think it can't not happen. I mean, will you jump on as much? Will I jump on as much? No. But my mother-in-law's not jumping on DVDs as much as we did.
Right. Sure.
So,
I mean, you gotta, when you're comparing the two, you also just have to think that the Blu-ray at its rawest form is a digital file. It's just a way of containing that digital file. With the download version of it, you're theoretically making it easier for me to get that digital file. This one, I am limited to the access of actually receiving that hard copy, actually having that hard copy. All it is giving me the download. This is just opening up the digital way, and just opening up a whole different venue of ways that I can get it. And I think that's what it comes down to. I actually think, yeah, we'll get to the point where the Blu-ray copy will be perhaps a little bit less. They'll be like, all right, we're getting rid of inventory, or whether we just make it that way, you have to drive out and come into our store to get that. That means you're coming out to a different place, you're looking at other things for that kind of thing. There's different ways that they can break that kind of deal, but I also do think people would pay more for the digital download, just so they don't have to leave. It's that immediate thing. Maybe they're sitting at home, instead of going out to rent a movie, I'm thinking, all right, I want to watch this movie. You have video on demand. You have to pay so much more for that rent than it would be to drive down to a Redbox. Redboxes are everywhere now. It's $1 a night. Versus if I'm watching it on demand, I have a minimum of $5, or if I'm watching it when it's in the theater, I'm still paying $10. That's the price of buying a Blu-ray at some places. It's just that convenience factor. People are willing to just say, all right, I don't want to get off the couch right now. So.
Now, I guess the big question is, well, it's probably a completely different show, but people in the future, are people going to own anything, really, is a huge question. Because you look at a Netflix, you know, are music and movies, we're talking about owning them, but is it going to become just a matter of subscriptions? You know, you're going to pay $8 a month and you can watch anything you want. You know, you pay, you know, and right now music's kind of battling that out. You know, iTunes and Amazon are very successful in selling you stuff, but you know, a lot of people are using Pandora or using music streaming. Now they not necessarily have control over exactly what they're doing, but you know there are services out there that are doing that, and that, I mean, so I'm curious if we're hitting on the wrong topic.
There are a couple companies that tried attempts at that, right? Like $15, $20, unlimited access to whatever, and they didn't do as well, if I'm remembering correctly. Didn't Napster have that kind of a subscription service, and they sort of, I mean, that namesake was gone, but I think towards the tail end they did have sort of a subscription service to whatever you want, but.
I think that's definitely the way that it seems to be going, and that seems like that would be the smart way for me to rationalize it, because, all right, you're guaranteed to get this much money off me every month, where I might not be buying $30 of movies naturally. But at the same time, the people that would be making those decisions in regards to movies is offering their licensing up. Like, that's what Netflix is having problems with. If Warner Bros. Is going to let them do that, or they have to wait. That's sort of rationality, and the people that are making those decisions, they thought the DVD was going to kill their industry. They thought the Blu-ray was going to kill their industry. Now they think the digital is. They're the ones that are very hesitant of allowing that to happen, and they're the ones that actually make that decision for it to happen. So I think that could be something that could happen, but that's very far down. There's a lot of cloudiness for them. That's a bet that they're not necessarily willing to take just yet.
Short answer, time frame on Blu-rays.
10 years.
I'll say, yeah, between 5 to 10, but not because of movies or television.
I think I'm the same way, with total life of about 10 years, so somewhere in the neighborhood of 7 or 8.